I had thought Christmas was the same for everyone, but in some places they get a wooden shoe filled with treats. That's Christmas, right? And other places they have a different word for it, and it has really nothing to do with this thing. And other places they're like, Christmas, we don't have that.
Yeah.
Go away. You can't. Don't curse us with that Christmas thing.
Yeah.
Like had no idea there was so much difference between that. And they're all made up by someone, right? At some point, right? So you're like stuck with it's the commercial one. Oh, you're stuck with it's the Catholic one. But you can find yourself stuck with I'm not going to do it because I don't like their version of it, right?
I even heard that the Western Santa was made from a Coca-Cola commercial in the 40s or something.
I heard it was made from reindeer pee.
Welcome
to another episode
of Driving to the Rez.
Your favorite hosts,
Larry
and Inelia.
Yay! And thank you for tuning in, wisdom keepers and wisdom seekers of the planet.
Yes.
It's nice to be with our people, huh?
Indeed.
Today we're going to be talking about where I get my information and what I do with it. A topic that is very interesting to all wisdom keepers and wisdom seekers of the planet.
Indeed.
Because we're intelligent human beings, right?
Yep.
All right. Do you have to add anything or just... Okay, so I'm going to start reading the article. And, we forgot about where people can go for the second hour, honey.
Okay, let's go with that. Well, 2 seconds on the, if this is the first time you're listening in, this is the free first part. There's a second part. The second part includes our esteemed panel of experts.
Yeah.
You find that at drivingtotherez.com. You'll find the second hour subscription. We also have a Friday morning
after party.
That's what we're calling it. Yeah. So when you read this article or you listen to us talking or you join the second hour and listen to the panelists' expert opinions, you can chime in with yours. Or maybe get expansion or a little bit more wisdom, or wisdom keepers and wisdom seekers, when they all gather together, share their wisdoms.
And also, if you just like to support us, you can join for $8 a month. Have access to all those second hours that we've ever made, actually.
Yeah.
But you don't have to listen to them if you just like the first hour and just want to support us. That's fine too.
Okay.
All right, so where I get my information and what I do with it. I was moaning and complaining to Larry in the truck as we were driving home about how it feels like my entire role as a wisdom keeper for the human collective seemed to be a complete and utter failure. That's actually a pretty common feeling among wisdom keepers these days. I've heard a lot of individuals air the same type of feeling that they're
It's
having.
odd, isn't it? Right? I mean, we think about this from the perspective of maybe the wisdom that you might be seeking as a listener or keeping as a listener, right? But I've heard teachers, it's like I go to school and I do my best to teach all my students and they're not even paying attention. Or
That's
the professors at the university, I go to teach my class and they're all on their screen. Nobody's paying any attention.
Yeah.
Right. You've done all this work to get to in some cases, the level of training you feel competent to share the experiences that you have because through whatever school, it could be hard knocks. It could be not knocks. It could be like, what's the opposite of the school of hard knocks, honey?
Stanford.
I'm sure there's plenty there
University.
that have been through the school of not hard knocks, but I'm pretty sure that exists at Stanford too. Either way, point being, at some point you have wisdoms to share, right? And you like that when you share them, that they like have an impact. And the impact is, that's the part of the equation that I think that we have to look at.
Yeah, there's a big why there, right?
Right.
Even among the strongest students, some items are still bogging them down. And even Larry himself, who has lived and worked with me for over 10 years now, falls to egoic trippings and negative low-frequency reactions.
On very rare occasions.
He added that. Didn't have to go.
It's true, though. I don't think you've ever been with someone who could be so mildly perfect, mostly. Relatively speaking.
Okay, there's always a good excuse, of course.
I occasionally get crabby because that's, I don't know.
What's a good excuse, Danny? Come on, give us some good excuses.
I didn't have breakfast.
Okay.
Which I don't really like to have breakfast too much.
Okay.
So I have one built in. If I get crabby in the first, I don't know, 8 hours of the day, it's because I didn't have breakfast.
Okay. All right. And of course, he's also referring to the way that our physical bodies can become very vulnerable to low frequencies. All right. If you have to cover your bases, and then you have a better chance of being less reactive at a physical level, an egoic level.
Yeah, they call it hangry, right?
Yeah. So food, water, and rest are the three basic tenets of those.
Right.
You need to keep up to those three really as much as you can. And then if they start going down one by one, then soon enough
At least you can get aware of it. It's like, okay, I'm feeling real triggery and crabby, and I'm gonna like bite somebody's head off any minute now. And then you go like,
okay,
am I super thirsty?
Yeah.
Am I hungry? Could I just like, well, they say grab a Snickers, right? It says hangry on it. Advertising works. Grab something and munch on it.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's simple like that, right? Other times maybe stop, go outside, get a breath of that beautiful air in the beautiful place and the sanctuary created for yourself. PB.
That PB.
Guard.
Yeah, we got it.
We got it. Anyway.
Okay.
So it's very rare times that I get crabby, but I do get crabby, I guess.
Yeah.
So I've been told.
And it may not have escaped your attention that even I fall for low frequency BS.
I don't think anybody heard that or believes that. Not for 1 second.
My reactions on that drive home being an excellent example of indulging in low frequency and useless mental and emotional dialogue. My excuse was I was running a fever.
Well, you were.
That's true, but that doesn't excuse anything.
Well, I didn't eat breakfast.
As we got home, I dropped all the BS because it became clear in energy, mind, and body. Went upstairs and continued working on the 12 power objects that I am preparing for gifting to my student wisdom keepers and seekers who live nearby and will be spending Christmas Day with me.
Yeah, when you say dropped it, I mean, what did you do?
I dropped it.
Is there some like convoluted process involving the 12th dimension frequencies being brought in through?
Well, there's actually awareness, the awareness field.
An awareness field.
Yeah, an awareness field of knowing that you are indulging in BS.
Yeah.
And then choosing not to anymore. And then everything just drops away.
It's really actually as simple as that, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not hard. It's
you can
not
catch
difficult.
yourself and realize what's happening and then make a conscious choice. Yeah, I'm going to keep being a jerk. That's what I'll do. Yeah, that's the one. Or you can say, oh, I see. No, I'm just going to drop that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm busy right now, so I need to just get on with it.
Yeah, how am I going to make these super high frequency mystical power objects in time for my deadline?
Exactly.
Being a crabby, what would the words be?
Disillusion?
Disillusion is like, what's the point?
Yeah.
If I make a mystical power object using the energy of what's the point?
Oh my gosh, that would be terrible.
That's gonna be
really bad.
Merry Christmas, here you go.
Yes.
Jeez.
That's more like a curse.
Yes.
All right. Christmas Day itself, of course, is filled with with reaction too. A celebration merged from various traditions woven into Catholic, Christian, and even commercial sales of victim aggressor cycles. Yikes. However, you wanted to talk about that?
Well,
Christmas
Day has evolved quite a lot, right? Mm-hmm. We don't even know what the origin of the day is unless you really like what day did they decide it's Christmas?
Yeah.
And when I went to school in Alaska, Christmas came and I had friends from different countries. Mm-hmm. And I had thought Christmas was the same for everyone, but in some places they get a wooden shoe filled with treats. That's Christmas, right? Did you know that?
No.
In other words, on other places they have a different word for it, and it has really nothing to do with this thing. In other places they're like, Christmas. We don't have that.
Yeah.
Go away. You
Go
can't.
away.
Don't curse us with that Christmas thing.
Yeah.
Like had no idea there was so much difference between that.
Oh.
And they're all made up by someone, right? At some point. Right. So you're like stuck with it's the commercial one. Oh, you're stuck with it's the Catholic one. But you can find yourself stuck with I'm not going to do it because I don't like their version of it, right?
I even heard that the Western Santa was made from a Coca-Cola commercial in the 40s or something.
I heard it was made from reindeer peeing after eating Amanita mushrooms and then drinking it.
Well, yeah, that also, but the way he looks,
Yeah.
red and white.
Come from Coca-Cola?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Well, I heard it was the red and white on Amanita mushroom.
Oh, the red and white from the mushroom.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's like, we can
know.
it could be all of the above and none of the above. The point being, it's a construct.
It is.
And fighting a construct or creating a new construct, I mean, what are your options?
Or you can look at the construct for the positive side of it. In a light-dark paradigm, there's always light, and just grab the light and drop the dark.
Simply make... I agree.
However, for me, it is a day on the cusp of the return of light in the northern hemisphere. It doesn't always fall into that one, but that's to me
in the vicinity.
Yeah. And the return of darkness in the southern hemisphere. It is an edge of light.
Oh, I see.
In this edge, we can place the energies of gratitude, celebration, giving and receiving. We celebrate our loved ones, and we are able to watch and enjoy the people's faces as they open the presents you carefully chose for them, and also enjoy presents you received from them. Back to the power objects. These objects are made with a clear and pure energy of intent. And although the energy that came in for them was a journey of enlightenment, they're also generic, meaning that they only can program them. Traditionally, I've created a power object for the wisdom keepers and seekers who choose to live near me for the past few years now. And I think individuals are now kind of...
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out what to program my alternative program on.
Yeah.
And one of my thoughts was like a maestro of marketing.
Ooh,
but I thought about energy and vitality as maybe even a better, more useful secondary program, because with energy and vitality, I can market, or I can
study,
clean the chicken coops, or I can take the
Yeah.
dogs for a run.
Yeah.
So one of them seemed like it had more value to an expanded
expanded
sense of
life.
all of the things that I might do with that versus the
Yeah.
other one, which is very narrow. Sometimes I guess you want narrow and focused, and other times broad and capable. So I'm right at that. Which
Decision
one? Which
point.
one?
Nice.
Well, what do you say about it? Which one?
Oh, well, I don't...
When you're selecting a program for something like this.
Yeah, I think like you did, you have to think about it, not just do the first thing that comes to your mind. And then you need to really ask why, the why behind it. And how does it serve you? How does it serve others?
There you go.
And it's like, and in the future, you can always change your mind, deprogram the thing, and just put another program in it.
I don't think so. You said you got to pick it and it's solid.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could try deprogramming in one of mine, but usually, I mean, generally speaking, I haven't seen many power objects you can't deprogram. Actually, I did see one once, but
Okay.
they're not very common.
It'll be interesting to see in the panel what because everyone on the panel
Got
also
one.
received one.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see, what they've chosen, if they have, and what the process is for their decision making
Yeah,
for this choice.
yeah, I like that. Yeah. All right, where do I get the information of what to make, and what do I do with the information? The art of power object making was passed down to me by 3 personal lineages of wisdom keepers. One is Gypsy, from my maternal grandmother. One is Alchemist, from my paternal grandfather. And one is Mapuche, from 2 Machis. In other words, the information I receive for the creation of power objects come from ancestral lineages. I get them from my ancestors. They guide, discuss, and advise what materials, energies, and intents to use on the objects.
When you say gypsy, mapuche, and alchemist, can you give some form of like definition of what you mean by those? Like what's a gypsy?
A gypsy is a race of individuals. The clan that my family comes from is the Molinas from southern Spain, North Africa, southern Spain. And that's where the clan is. It's actually had a really nice, interesting story about that.
Tell me.
So I was in Madrid with my 3 children. We were walking down the street in the center of Madrid, and there was a newspaper stand. And the man, when I looked at him, he looked like family. Actually, he looked very familiar.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and smiled and came up to me and spoke in the language that they speak. You know, the gypsies in Spain speak. And I said, I'm sorry, in Spanish, I said, I'm sorry, I don't speak that language. I'm not gypsy. And he laughed, right? He says, oh, are you from South America? And I says, that's right. She says, oh, yeah, I know. She says, I'm going to come over here. I want to show you. I want you to meet someone. And I said, okay. And I went behind. It was behind the kiosk. And there was a woman there with her back to me, sorting out newspapers and things. And then he called her over, and she turns around, and my eyes went as wide as saucers, and my jaw just dropped to the floor, man. I was like, what? And he looked at me laughing, and he said, doesn't she look just like your grandmother? How the hell did he know? Right? And I was like, identical to my grandmother. I never met my grandmother. She died before I died, but we had a photograph or a couple of them in the house, and I still had one with me throughout my life. So I knew exactly what she looked like, and that woman was identical. And I looked at him and said, how did you know? And he says, he said something about one of their family had gone to South America. So they knew, right?
That's cool.
Yeah. And of course, this family member had brought their knowledge with them, right? So.
But not the language. You dropped the language.
They dropped the language, yeah.
Probably nobody to speak it with. Well, I guess that's one of the things when you move to a location.
You
generally pick up that
location's language and I mean, they spoke Spanish, but with an accent, and everybody could tell that they were gypsy, you know.
Okay,
but, yeah, they didn't speak the language.
How about the alchemist version?
So my alchemist great-grandfather.
First of all, what is alchemist?
An alchemist is another tradition of mystical energies and power.
Oh, cool.
There's several branches. I recently learned that they're also healers. And but yeah, so it's a long tradition. I mean, most people have heard of the alchemist stone and alchemist in general. That's a European lineage. And my father's grandfather, who was my great-grandfather, was an alchemist, and my father's father was an alchemist. He took all the knowledge, books, stone, and everything from his dad. He inherited everything. And he used it to make several fortunes in his life, actually. And he then passed the lineage to me. He skipped my dad and gave it to me when I was 6 years old. Jeez. On his deathbed.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a very powerful lineage.
Is it unusual to go from man to woman or man to child?
I'm not really sure.
Father to son to father to son.
I think that I think it has, I think as a traditional thing, if they could, they would pass it on to the sons because of the patriarchal society that they were involved in, especially in ancient times when any woman with power would be burned as a witch. They didn't want to lose the lineage. So if possible, they would pass it on to a boy. But there were some women in the lineage too who practiced it secretly and passed on their knowledge, mostly to their sons, right? But if there was a very gifted girl, then they would also pass it to her.
Cool.
But my grandpa just passed it on to me. He didn't bother with his daughter or son. He only had 2 children.
So he didn't want to pass it to his children, or his children weren't receptive, or any idea?
He didn't want to pass it to his children.
Okay.
I don't think they could have received it, even if they wanted to.
I guess that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so what about the Mapuche?
That's from my maternal grandfather. And he was... so that's why I was able to receive the lineage, because he was, I think, half Mapuche, maybe. Right? So I had like a quarter Mapuche in me, or just over half. No, not under half. 40-something% according to blood tests, right? Mm-hmm. But he was, he had that lineage of the blood, the tribal lineage, right? So when I was 7, I died, and they called him a Mapuche to bring me back. And she did. But the connection also meant that the Mapuche lineage really liked me and passed on to me. But she severed the connection halfway through. And because she was a dark Mapuche, Machi, sorry. The Machis can choose what color. I mean, they'll do both jobs, but, you know, they'll choose which line to follow, light or dark.
Because, you know, the village or the group needs both. Mm-hmm. When you live in a light, dark world, right?
Yeah, yeah. So she went back to the reservation and she never saw me again. She refused to see me or look into my eyes ever again. She didn't want her Machi lineage to continue downloading. It was very, like, for me, it was like, I really wanted to get the rest of it outside. It's amazing. But when I was in my early 30s or mid 30s, I can't remember exactly, but it was around that age, I met a second Machi, funnily enough, from the area where my granddad had his tribe. And when she looked at me, she realized immediately that I was a Machi. Mm-hmm. And she let me have her lineage.
Nice.
She passed on her lineage to me, and I was like, what? I was amazed. And she wanted me to move in immediately next to her. Yeah. So I could train properly, you know. Because one thing is passing the lineage, but then there's the physical training too. And she was freaking powerful, that lady. Amazingly powerful.
Is that the one when you were trying to buy land, or were going to buy land?
Yeah.
So that was an interesting little story. What happened when she activated it is what the word you used at the time. But I don't think that was like necessarily accurate, my hearing of it. Could you tell a little bit of that?
So, yeah, she wanted me to move there, right?
What happened?
Yeah. So I was married at the time. My husband was the father of my 3 children. He was Irish, from Ireland.
He probably still is, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was standing next to me. And this Machi looked at him and looked at me. And she said, "Why didn't you marry a human?" Right? It's like, I've heard, I mean, I said, I've heard, you know, it's like you were living in Europe. She said, I know people that have gone there and they told me there's humans there. Why didn't you marry a human?
So to set the stage, you were traveling to where? Chile somewhere?
So, so there was this piece of land in the south of Chile, close to a place called Osorno. And the owners...
You'd travel there to buy it or something?
Yes.
From where? From Ireland?
No, I was living in Chile at the time.
Oh, okay.
In my ancestral home in Rancagua. And so we traveled down to see this piece of land. And basically, it was right next to the reservation. So, and it was owned by a white guy, otherwise known as a Chilean.
Chilean.
Yeah, Chilean, because Chileans are considered, anybody who was immigrant to Chile is considered white, and also it doesn't matter where you came from. You could be from Africa.
And it doesn't matter how brown you are, you're still white.
No. Yeah, exactly. And then there's the Mapuche, who are the people.
Oh, okay.
Right? And
so the land you went to go look at to buy was
his wife's, who was Mapuche. And before she would sell the land, because she was a traditional Mapuche, she had to get the blessing from the Machi for the new owner. So anybody who wanted or thinking of buying it had to go and have an interview with the Machi.
I see. Get basically approved.
Yes.
We kind of have that here on our res, except for here they have to approve it only between Macaws, right? You just can't sell it to non-Macaw. Otherwise, the reservation would get owned by not the people.
Right. And anyway, so we're having that conversation, right? So she says, she said, we have lots of suitable men here at the tribe.
Who are real, who are humans.
No, that was, assumed. And it says, I can get you a husband.
You don't have to stay married to this not human?
Not human, yeah. But I remember at the time I looked at my husband at the time.
Yeah.
And I could tell that he wasn't human.
Wow.
I saw it. And I was like shocked. Right? Yes. Shocked. Like, whoa. And then she looked at me, and she said, okay, you're welcome here, but he's not. Okay? Mm-hmm. And I said, okay. And then all around us, all these sparkles of light, physical sparkles of light started coming out of the ground and the grass and the trees and the building. Everything was just all this spark. And I looked around going, oh, like this, and she looked at me smiling, like giving me the thumbs up, I was just blown away that she had done that. I didn't know what it was at the time, but at the same time, my husband screamed, right? And he's like, oh, I gotta get out of here. And he turned and ran away. Literally started running in one direction where his car was. But we had gone through several fields and all sorts of things. He ran over, not bothering with the paths, over the walls, the bushes, between trees.
Straightest line out of there.
Yeah. And I was with the landowner's husband at the time. We looked at each other and thought, oh my God, that's our ride, back to it was like a 20-hour drive back to our city. We looked at each other at the same time. It was okay, we'll run after him. And the lady was just laughing. He says, well, get in touch. Tell me what you decide.
Because obviously you're going to have to get rid of this non-human husband if you wanted to buy this land, because, right, he won't be accepted.
Right.
That's pretty interesting.
Oh, no, she didn't mind me. She really wanted me there.
What I mean is
but he wasn't.
If you had come back with him, he would get chased off, right?
No, I wouldn't be able to go back with him, no.
Well, he wouldn't be able to go back.
No, he wouldn't be able to go back.
So
I thought about it, but I realized that I didn't have the finances the land was like, they didn't have a house in it or anything. So I wasn't able to just pack up and go, right? I couldn't just pack my bags, my kids, and go and live there. There was no house there. So
you could have got a human husband and might have made one.
That would have taken time, right? And I really didn't have the resources for that, so.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so that didn't happen. But yeah, that was the second Machi lineage. Very interesting. And she stayed in a telepathic contact with me for quite a few years, actually. It was very interesting. If I ever also had any questions, I could contact her. Yeah, so should we continue?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they come from an ancestral lineages information, right? I get them. They guide, discuss, and advise what materials, energies, and intents to use on the objects. I can choose to ignore it all and watch television instead, or I can sit at my art desk and create the objects, or I can choose to bring them to fruition and create objects that are filled with power. That is one example of the way I get information and what I do with it. Another way I receive information, were you going to say something? Okay. Is when a person asks me an interesting question. And that is why I enjoy the company of wisdom keepers and seekers. A person will ask a question that interests me, something I don't know about, and I will drop into that energy and swim the threads of information gathered by the human collective, Earth, and the universe.
I remember asking you about the origin of the virus.
Oh my God.
While we were driving.
Yes.
And those were things that you were, quite fond of, those little virus things swimming around, making everybody sick.
Viruses. Yeah.
So that you could, I don't know.
Hate. It was my favorite.
Your favorite enemy.
Yeah. But we'll talk about that on the second hour, exactly how that happened. So we don't get our video banned from most of the outlets. And that's another reason we have a second hour.
Okay.
No speak uncensored.
Okay,
right?
We'll talk about what happened when you went to look at the origin of the virus.
Yes.
In the second hour.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right. So, what I do with that information is to create classes, workshops, articles, novels, books, and other ways that are also traditional within my lineages. Yeah. So, interestingly enough, the power objects that came through for this Christmas were purely from the alchemist lineage. They didn't have any of the other lineages in them. Just didn't have Mapuche and it didn't have Gypsy, just alchemist. And the alchemist lineage, I've been starting to use it. I mean, I have used it in the past very, very, a little bit at a time, Especially when I created that class, I went into the alchemist lineage and showed how that worked. But in this case, it was almost like a training for myself even. Like learning how to use physical objects, manipulate them, and create something that contains literal power, ability to do, chi, connected to power. It doesn't contain, obviously, as I teach, you never put your own stuff in there, right?
Okay.
You don't put in your signature, your frequency. You don't put in your personal energies into power objects. Those are disgusting, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. I don't think your energies are disgusting.
No. Generally speaking, though. You can create those for yourself for your own use. Or let's say if you do have like a wife or a husband, you can, or your child, and then you can put those there, right? Engulfed in love. But not for another person, or if you're going to sell it, that's gross.
Okay.
Just trust me.
Okay, I got it.
And I mean, I've been in the past, I was given a power object created by another person, and that person, for whatever reason, had infused it with a power. I couldn't even touch it. Like, I nearly gagged, So anyways, power objects and being a snob.
Okay. I'm curious, is it okay to show our power object to other people?
Yes, you can, because the symbology and everything is actually created for public display. You can actually put it on your wall. Oh. That particular power object.
Cool. Maybe we should I go get it and show everybody
now? If you want to show it on the video.
And then in the second hour, we can see the other ones.
If they want to. Obviously, it depends on each person if they want to share what it looks like.
I want to share.
Okay.
You can keep talking while I go.
Yeah, because you can still hear me.
Yes.
Right? So, so with regards to the power objects, I created a workshop, and you can find it at Benz Academy. The link's going to be in all of the information. If you're interested in that type of thing, you can create your own. And I also teach about the ancestral teachings of power objects from the Mapuche, from the Gypsy, and from the alchemist viewpoints. So Larry's arrived with his power object. And there it is on the screen. You will see a very beautiful object. It's not art, but it looks artful.
It's artistic, yes.
Yeah.
And sparkly. And there's gold in it.
Yeah, it's got 23 karat gold.
Oof.
There's a company who actually makes it. They go 23, 23.75, and 24.
Cool.
So, yeah, that's got gold in it and some quartz and other things. But it's also got symbologies and symbols and sigils inside it.
I remember the first night you'd made them all. No sleep.
You couldn't sleep.
Couldn't sleep the whole night.
It was so funny because when I realized that the power was coming out of them, because there were like 12 of them on one location, and it was so powerful that we wouldn't be able to get any sleep. And I was looking at them, and I saw this, like a field of energy coming over them.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, great. They have like a little shield and I can go to sleep. And I did, but I didn't realize it was just for me. And poor Larry didn't have a shield. Oh, no. He didn't get any sleep at all.
I wasn't uncomfortable, but I wasn't sleeping, Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can be up and alert, and that's fine. Like you're driving really, really late at night and you're good with it. Other times it's like you're fighting and fighting and fighting. This wasn't the fighting. This was like I'm awake and I'm aware, and I'm not crabby about it. I'm not uncomfortable, but definitely not asleep.
Yeah. Because also, like, it's like what I do with that information to create classes. I have a ton of classes. You can get them at ineliaevents.com. And all those classes are to allow the person, the wisdom keeper, to be fully conscious and aware of decision making and their life and choices, and that's being empowered, right?
Right.
Workshops. Sometimes I have online workshops. Sometimes I have in-person workshops, and I do articles like the one that we're reading right now, right? That goes together with the podcast. And that podcast also gets expanded because of the panelists.
The wisdom keepers and the wisdom seekers.
Yeah. And Larry, who's really good at really navigating energies that can be interesting for the human collective. Novels, those are my favorite. I love to write novels. And that's also traditional, the storyteller, right? Both in Europe and European lineages, as well as the Native American lineage of the Mapuche. Like the very, very, very powerful way to impart wisdoms.
Through story.
Through stories. So that's the novels. I also have some books with different knowledge and interesting facts and tools and things like that. And yeah, other ways like the power objects and other things that traditionally are part of my lineage. But, oh, you had something to say? You did.
No.
You go. But, and this is a big but.
That was
Get
my...
it?
Whose butt?
Yours.
Okay.
And you don't have a big butt.
Thank you.
You have a very nice athletic butt.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's what I strived for.
Yeah. If I get attached to results, in other words, if I become invested in what the information or wisdom does, or how it affects others, then it all falls apart.
For you or for them or for all
me.
of them? For you.
Yeah, for me. Yeah. It is not for me to dictate what happens with the information or objects once I release them to the world. That's entirely up to you.
Otherwise, it would be power over others and black
I'm
magic.
like an
and
egoic trip or something. I think,
Egoic
egoic trip. Maybe, tripping maybe. You want to leave a mark and you want to affect others
in
positively.
the way that you want them to be affected.
Yes.
I don't know. It's kind of treading those lines, I think. Here's a powerful object. It's yours to do with your wishes. Like if you make knives and then you tell them it's only for cutting butter, and they go and cut cheese. It's like, how many times do I have to tell you? The butter. It's for the butter. So
Indeed.
You're upset, and they're using their butter knife as a cheese knife, and they're perfectly happy.
Yeah, over carving a beautiful object, for example.
Carving a beautiful object. Sure. Or how about tightening the screws?
Yeah, there you go.
Breaking the tip off.
Yeah.
Haven't done that.
Yeah. We haven't done that.
No. So yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like, here's the tool. I'm not going to get attached to how you use it.
No.
Because if I do and you use it wrong, then...
Oh, you use it in ways that I hadn't thought of?
Or use it in ways I hadn't thought of.
Or don't use it at all. You leave it on the shelf and there it stays, you know?
That can become disturbing for you.
Yes, yeah.
I wonder why is that, you think? And you say it's an ego thing?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's the ego thing. Like, liking to see results and making sure that all you're doing is valuable and all that stuff, you know. Rather than trusting the human collective's orchestration for moving through time and space.
Yes, I see.
Yeah.
Good point.
Mm-hmm. It is not for me to dictate what happens with the information objects once I release them to the world. That's entirely up to you. I repeat. From one wisdom keeper and seeker to another, greetings! And of course, we will be discussing more about the information that is available to us and for us, and what to do with it in our podcast, Driving to the Rez, which you're listening now, but the second part especially, right? Go to drivingtotherez.com.
Okay, we'll finish this conversation. I think actually it might even just keep going for a little while. You're going to get an idea of what happens in the second hour by listening for the next, I guess, 10 minutes or ish.
Yeah,
we'll
something
see.
like that.
Okay, let's get there. Ready? Snap.
Okay.
And we're back. Welcome to the second half of Driving to the Rez. Hi, Larry.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Inelia.
Dora's tail.
Hi, Theodora. We are here talking about, or continuing the conversation on where I get my information and what I do with it. I'm Ashley Swill. I am the CEO of iBenz Academy, iBenz Method Mentor, corporate HR leader, mystic, and yoga teacher.
Hi, I'm Emiliana Rogero. I'm a mystic, a mentor, psychic meditation teacher, architect, and founder of El Método iBenz, the official channel of Inelia's work in Spanish.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Kara Kinsigley. I'm a teacher, mentor, entrepreneur, gamer, and mystic.
Hi, and I'm Fred Guerin, aerospace engineer, pilot, dancer, past life regression therapist, and I'm a student of the occult and a healer.
Did you get a nudge on that one, Fred?
I did. And on the topic, Inelia, you were when you were talking to the Mapuche, you said your husband wasn't human. And what did you mean by your husband wasn't human?
Well, at first I didn't understand what she was talking about. I thought maybe she was talking about how in that tradition, the only humans are, that you knew about were the people that were introduced to you by a person you trusted to the tribe. So a tribal member was a human. That's how I understood it. But that's not what she meant. So, because she said, yeah, they have humans in Europe, right? So what happened was I looked at him and I saw his skin changing, getting all kind of blotchy and like looking weird, right? So she literally meant he's not human.
So his physical body was not a human.
No.
He was. So what was he?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't ask him, right?
Maybe
I'm pretty certain that he was possessed. Pretty certain. Yeah. So there must have been some sort of demon in there.
So there was a demon, you said?
Probably.
Okay. So it was an overlay on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a difference between, like, for example, if you are possessed, you can shape shifting or you hold someone versus you are not a human and you can hold a different shape.
I don't understand the question.
So like if you are possessed, because you say he's possessed,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was what it was.
but it's still a non-human.
By a non-human, yeah. Possessed by a non-human.
So your children are, for all intents and purposes, human.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Just want to clarify. But I mean, I can relate. I've had those experiences with somebody where I'm in conversation with them and they kind of shape shift or morph right in front of me and look like a nasty demon of sorts that I could never have made up in my head. And I'm like, what is going on? Who is this creature? But it's the person is there. But when you can see it, you see the demon's presence.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still working on being able to not take the bait because they turn into a demon and poke me right where I'm sensitive. And I'm like, rah, 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 and
Then you're going to their game.
I go into their game and
I'm pretty sure we're all working on that, friend. You're not alone. I'm definitely working on it, especially after the holidays.
You don't have any stories about having any demon-possessed people in your life?
Unfortunately, I have many.
Did you used to have a demon-possessed husband?
Yes. And a demon possessed boyfriend, and I'm sensing a pattern. Oh, what does that mean about you, honey?
I am not. Well, I don't think I'm demon-possessed. I mean, I have many possessions, but I try to keep them hidden.
You have many possessions? Is that what you just said?
So let's hear more about this. Come on.
So, when you work on things and get rid of things, it's like, oh, there's another one.